M4 रॉकेट का। यह भीमकाय रॉकेट आसमान को चीरते हुए अपनी भयानक दहाड़ से चारों ओर कंपन उत्पन्न कर रहा है, जिसे हम यहाँ महसूस कर सकते हैं। और यही दहाड़ है जो वैज्ञानिकों को
through the clear skies, every second moving closer to the accomplishment of the most important milestone in its mission to moon. Every Indian witnessing the launch live is content with the feeling of watching history in the making.
Hello everybody, warm welcome. Thanks for tuning into News 9 Live. I'm Kabir Naqvi. Joining me here in the studio is my colleague Justin Thomas. And what we're essentially going to be talking about over the next couple of minutes is that historic liftoff. Chandrayaan-3, our third moon mission. It's already on its way. It's crossed that gravitational barrier. We'll have to wait for another 40 days. On August 23rd, it's expected to make its soft landing, making India only the fourth nation on this planet after the United States, the Soviet Union and China to make a soft landing on the moon. What a big day, Justin.
Of course, congratulations to all stakeholders involved out here. And yeah, 40 days journey, everyone is waiting for the end result.
Absolutely. And why is it different? What was different from Chandrayaan-2 to Chandrayaan-3? What next? Why the southern hemisphere of the moon? Why the GSLV and not the PSLV? All of those questions are going to be asked and answered by an expert set of panelists. Justin has produced a real great documentary, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, check out this documentary. It's called Chandrayaan Reloaded. The right kind of visuals, the right kind of information that you need at this point in time ahead of that prospective touchdown on the lunar surface. Take a look at this snippet of the documentary, and we'll come back for more with the experts joining us on the panel.
When I become emotional that by seeing me, that our Honorable PM hugged me and he tried to console me, I felt as if the entire India, entire Bharat is really consoling me.
Chandrayaan being a very prestigious project, it's in limelight. Good demonstration of our capability as a country.
That we are as close to moon as any other country of the world.
No spacecraft has landed on the dark side of the moon. 4 years ago, India tried but failed. So, Chandrayaan-3 is on its way to create history. It will be a stellar example of India's strides in space technology.
Definitely, that is that what are happened during the Chandrayaan-2 time frame, that all the data we analyzed, and we are in the Chandrayaan-2 time frame, that all the data we analyzed and we have gone through. We identified one expert team, and then they gone through the data, and then they identified that the discrepancies, what really happened in the flight. They identified the reason for the failure mission that they identified. And so all these failure, the modes now is being corrected in Chandrayaan-3. We will be achieving that the landing technology, whatever the landed technology is a new technology we are acquiring. That is one big thing. So also that is another advantage is because it is landing and doing the experiment. Otherwise, still now that our orbiter or Chandrayaan-1 is really doing the science from the space, whereas here that you can do the experiment in situ, take the sample, then and there itself they can do the experiment. So this advantage is there by this mission.
I think broadly speaking, multifaceted objectives. A, to discover the unknown or unexplored nuances of the universe, to uncover the new vistas with relation to moon, not only for India but for the whole world and for the mankind. And from Indian perspective, also to once again reiterate that we are as close to moon as any other country of the world. Our first mission, Chandrayaan-3, was the first ever mission which brought the evidence of the presence of water on the surface of moon, even though we had started late. So now those pictures were actually procured even by NASA, by all the space agencies across the world for their future experiments.
Countries don't reveal their space research secrets. So Chandrayaan-3 will help India demonstrate cutting-edge space technology. And companies like Godrej Aerospace are providing critical rocket engines for ISRO's heaviest launch vehicle, Mark 3. It weighs around 640 tons and it's equivalent to a dozen passenger jets.
For us, it's a part of the same journey. Chandrayaan being a very prestigious project, it's in limelight. But the engines which we have been making for all these 35 years, the same engines are getting associated to Chandrayaan. And it's a very proud moment for all of us at Godrej. Good demonstration of our capability as a country. Chandrayaan-3 of course has a lander which is going to land, which has got a good contribution again from Godrej in terms of thrusters and all. We have been maintaining the quality, ensuring everything goes correct. So every engine takes about 9 to 8 months to build. So it's the same journey which is there. There are challenges in terms of more focus on ensuring that things don't go wrong at the final stage.
In his second term as Prime Minister Modi has taken a number of path-breaking decisions, breaking the taboos of the past. And one of them was unlocking the space sector to private participation. Within just 2-3 years, we have a PSU called New Space India Limited. We have an interface agency called InSpace, and we have more than 140 startups. And mind you, these are the startups who are of world-class merit, and some of them first of their kind. So I think we have made a huge quantum headway in the last 3-4 years, which is also an indication of how it is going to be in the years to come.
If Chandrayaan-3 succeeds, India will become only the 4th country to make a soft landing on the moon. But here's the crucial part. We are going where no country has gone before. It's near the South Pole. And temperatures out here fall to below 200 degrees below zero. So the secrets of the origins of the solar system are also frozen here. So the big question out here is, can the Chandrayaan mission unravel them?
A rocket is a rocket, but behind the rocket, the whole India would have worked, not one person's work. A satellite is one person may be project director of the satellite, but there are thousands of people worked behind the satellite. Like every satellite or every launch vehicle, there are thousands of people really worked, then only it became a rocket. It is not a single person's job. It is not the chairman's job. It is a duty alone. It is not the director's duty alone. It is everybody, it's a teamwork.
India rising to a pedestal. Now I think this is a signal heralding that ascent of journey. So that ascent of Amrit Kal has begun. Maybe Chandrayaan is spearheading that ascent.
3, 2, 1. We have ignition.
Well, so you can download the News 9 Plus application. It's not just about Chandrayaan, it's about entertainment, it's about politics, about news and history for rather cutting edge and incisive analysis on pretty much everything that's under the sun. It's available on the Apple App Store and the Google Android Play Store as well. Just in a beautiful documentary over there. Joining us also on the broadcast is Ravi Gupta, who's a former scientist with the DRDO. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Justin, I'm going to get the ball rolling with you. Before we listen into the ISRO chief, before we listen into what the Prime Minister said in France, before we listen into what the mission chief had to say, what's your take? I mean, you've been working on this documentary for the longest time. You finally saw just minutes ago, the LVM-3 take Chandrayaan-3 up into that Earth-centric orbit, 40 days, a long journey that's left. What's next? But what's happening inside your brain right now?
So it's a moment for redemption for ISRO, primarily because Chandrayaan-3 is effectively what Chandrayaan-2 was supposed to do. So Chandrayaan-2 was able to put its orbiter around the moon, but the main challenge was for the soft landing, which never happened. So so the point out here is that the main mission out here right now is to ensure there's a soft landing in place. But crucially, the best part out here is that India will be the only country who will be able to make a landing somewhere close to the South Pole. So that's never happened before. People have landed south side of the equator, but nowhere close to what India is attempting right now. So yes, India is going to the unknown right now because that part of the moon, the lunar surface, is completely frozen, and it could give you clues for the building blocks of the solar system, which is fascinating. So I think the first step is obviously to reach there, and then we see that they have made changes to the lander. All those changes that have been made to ensure that it's more sturdier while it's landing. There are more cameras there, there are more legs there, and scientific experiments obviously. But the crucial part is, can we make a soft landing on the moon?
Well, certainly. Justin, you'll have to wait another 40 days for that. And they're saying that, one moon day is equivalent to 15 Earth days or 14 Earth days. So that essentially means if by 23rd, you haven't been able to land your lander on the surface, on the lunar surface, you'll have to wait another fortnight because you want to make the most out of this research. The lander can only give you back research 14 days worth of research. Ravi Gupta, former DRDO scientist with us also on the broadcast. Mr. Gupta, how are you looking at this latest launch? Why is the South Pole on the lunar surface so interesting?
Well, as Mr. Justin has rightly pointed out, that South Pole region is the frozen region. Frozen not in terms of temperature, at the same time frozen in terms of the history of solar system, the way it has evolved. The indicators to it are also frozen there. So that is very important from that point of view. But apart from that, because of the low temperature and because the solar radiation is somewhat lesser over here, there is a possibility of, rather much greater possibility of finding water and usable water. Means wherever the water is found, it will be much easier to retrieve it and use it for further applications.
Well, Mr. Gupta, could you also elaborate on the significance of discovering water? People are saying that it might have those hydrogen molecules, it might have those, elements that are needed to refuel a particular craft as well. I mean, in the future, moon could very well be a jumping station for, our excursions far beyond Mars in the days to come. Is that so the case? Is that why the South Pole is more interesting than what meets the eye here?
Exactly. See, because the water is a future fuel for future missions. It is a fuel for tomorrow. The conventional fuels, water has a significant advantage over the conventional fuels, and water can be used in mainly two ways. One is the conventional way of splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen, and then using the two as a fuel, as the similar way our cryogenic engine is using it. Of course, this is liquefied hydrogen, liquefied oxygen. But there is another novel way which scientists had predicted long ago, but now only recently it is becoming a reality. And I'm proud to say that Indian companies are also working in this area, like Bellatrix. They are very much into it. This is called microwave electrical propulsion, where you use, unlike the conventional one, which involved very high temperatures and high burning rates and high pressure vessels and all that. What you need is a stream of water, or maybe some other chemicals are also suitable, but water is one of the most suitable chemicals, and which you heat by way of microwaves. Now, the point to be understood is on moon you can get plenty of energy. You have sun radiation, you can collect the solar radiation. Similarly, in space, you have for a major part of the space, you will find some star or the other, or at least our solar system, you have our good sun, which can give you sunlight, which can be used to generate electricity. But can I use electricity for propulsion? No, not like this. I have to convert this into something which I push back, because in space, the only thing which is working is for propulsion is the Newton's third law. If I have to move forward, I have to push something backwards.
All right.
So that comes from water. You heat water at very high temperatures through microwaves. It becomes plasma. Plasma is an ionized state. You use strong electromagnets to keep it contained and to accelerate to very, very high speeds, high velocities, and push it back. So that is a kind of a novel propulsion method. So since, as you rightly pointed out, South Pole, there is a much more likelihood of finding water, and if we find it, I think it will be a revolution.
But certainly, I was speaking to a former ISRO scientist earlier in the day who was of the opinion that you never know, you might just add another element to that periodic table as well whilst you're there, and that could be more historic than the journey that we've taken up there. Justin, in terms of what kind of lessons we've picked up from Chandrayaan-2 and how we've changed, modified. I'm reading that there's less instrument redundancy this time around. There are new features attached on the rover and the lander as well. What are the lessons that we've learned, and how does this help in our latest mission?
I think the main mission part out here is that to, as I said earlier, to obviously soft land, but also create a base, a kind of competition which is building up on the lunar surface. Please, let's understand that China and Russia are already planning a lunar base. So which means that it requires some kind of technology, some kind of advancement that is matching to theirs. So India, the tests that they are going to do there, the challenge, the experiments that they are going to work on there, is obviously to ensure that they are in the race to match up with the other players who have already a significant lead. So India in that sense is doing that jobs to ensure the basics of the, like for example, the water that was found in 2008. A lot of lunar missions had happened at that point before that, but none of could get that test results out which India did via Chandrayaan-1. So that's why Chandrayaan-3 is equally important. Those are the tests which other countries have also tried, but it's always the unknown factor which you never know what you can definitely find on the surface of the moon.
Well, certainly. Before we move on, let's listen in to quick reactions coming in from the ISRO chairman, the mission director, and the Minister for Space Research. Those three reactions coming right at you.
Chandrayaan-3 has started its journey towards moon. Our dear LVM-3 has already put Chandrayaan-3 craft into the precise orbit around Earth. 170 by 36,500 kilometers was its intended target orbit, and it is precisely there now. And let us wish all the best for the Chandrayaan-3 craft to make its further orbit racing maneuvers and travel towards moon in the coming days. So let me wish all the very best to Chandrayaan-3 for its further journey towards moon.
I am very happy to report here that the LVM-3 M4 vehicle has injected the Chandrayaan-3 satellite to the precise orbit, and once again the vehicle is proved to be the most reliable heavy lift vehicle of Indian Space Research Organization. Congratulations to the teamwork of ISRO family. I would like to appraise three things here. The vehicle systems are in the continuous process of quality improvement, especially in the event of our human rating efforts towards making the systems reliable. Secondly, the payload also, capability of the payload also is improved by mission strategies as well as vehicle engineering approaches. We are in the process of increasing the launch frequency of this vehicle considering the national requirements as well as satellite demands.
It is indeed a moment of glory for India, and a moment of destiny for all of us over here at Sriharikota who are a part of the history in making. Thank you, Team ISRO, for making India proud. And thank you, Honorable PM Narendra Modi ji, for having made this possible by unlocking the gates of Sriharikota and enabling the India's space sector. You would recall, Honorable Prime Minister had very recently said, sky is not the limit. And living by his words, I think the Chandrayaan today has gone beyond the limits of sky to discover the unexplored horizons of the universe beyond.
Well, so the Chandrayaan-3's launch has gone exactly according to plan, but now the mission team are faced with 40-day waiting period, which the spacecraft has to complete multiple maneuvers before it starts its descent onto the lunar surface. What is next is, a bigger question. We know that some Earth-centric maneuvers have to take place, then some Moon and lunar-centric maneuvers have to take place. But, coming back to you, Mr. Gupta, why is it so difficult? Why is it difficult to land on the moon? We know, for one, that it is quite a treacherous surface. But apart from that, is navigation on the moon also difficult?
Yeah, landing on moon is indeed a challenge. First of all, unlike Earth, where we have air, and you can use air to reduce the speed or control the aircraft, on moon there is no air. So the only way to land attempt a soft landing is to have and reduce the speed in a controlled manner. Now that is not an easy task. Secondly, our Earth have a magnetic field which is uniform, a global magnetic field. But as far as the moon is concerned, there is no global magnetic field. There are patches of magnetism with changing magnetic field. So they also create problems and issues. So, in the whole, you can say that the conventional kind of landing, as we do when our spacecraft come back to Earth, we do it with parachutes or something, which is not feasible there. So that makes the landing on moon very, very challenging.
Well, certainly.
Besides, already you have told that the surface is
Mr.
very
Gupta,
rough.
Mr. Gupta, throw some light also on the fact, why have we used, a GSLV in place of a PSLV? What's the difference? I mean, it seems like the Mars is further than the moon, but we use a lighter rocket for Mars and a heavier rocket for moon.
Well, it's also a question of, basically the question of how much load we have to carry.
All right.
What we are carrying today, this time, we didn't carry a lander in case of Mars mission. It was only kind of a satellite, small satellite, which has to go there and circle around Mars and send the data back. Now here we have a lander which is of the size of a SUV. So that is beyond the load capacity of PSLV. Therefore, that's why we needed a heavier lift vehicle, which is GSLV Mark 3. And now it has been renamed as LVM-3, mainly because when you say geostationary, GSLV is geostationary launch vehicle. Vehicle used for launching satellites in the geostationary orbits. But the LVM-3 will be having much broader user, like we are using it for GTO, placing the satellite over this lander into GTO and then taking it beyond the moon. So there will be many more missions which are beyond, you can say, placing satellite into geostationary orbit. That's why this has been named as LMV-3. So LMV-3, and this is so far till date, this is the heaviest lift vehicle, the most powerful vehicle which ISRO or India has designed and realized. But already much heavier vehicles are on the card. As far as this LVM is concerned, it is capable of placing a 4,000 kilogram weight into a GTO, or this is geostationary transfer orbit, like this one. And but if you want to place something on a lower Earth orbit, like a space station or something, the capacity is 8,000 kilograms, so 8 tons, which is quite a significant.
So this time, essentially, we're carrying way more than we did on our Mars mission, let's say.
Exactly.
All right, all right. In terms of, Mr. Gupta, in terms of what the Chandrayaan-3 mission is carrying, we know it's carrying a rover model, it's carrying a lander module, and it's carrying a propulsion module. But on the rover and the lander, there are some significant changes that have happened. I'm reading here there's the Ramba LP, the Chase TE system, the ILSA, which is the instrument for lunar seismic activity. I mean, there's a lot of data that these two, modules are going to pick up, albeit only for 14 days, but we'll get some sort of clarity. It will open up an entire door, like Justin pointed out, in terms of the mysteries of, the history of the solar system. Can you throw some light on what fresh technology and modifications the lander and the rover have right now?
There are two aspects. One aspect is the payloads, which we have listed out. These payloads are for carrying out scientific experiments, taking measurements. Each one has its own role. Now, this payload is essentially the same. By and large, it is the same as in case of C2, because we could not complete the C2 mission, we could not land properly and conduct those experiments. Now the same experiment, same payload is there on C3 to conduct the same experiment which we could not do last time. But then, yes, what are the differences? The entire Chandrayaan-3 has been ruggedized. After seeing the problem, whatever issues were there which came up in C2, I don't call that as a failure, because after all, the primary motive of this kind of mission is knowledge generation. And when we conducted C2 and the Chandrayaan had missed, somehow something happened and it could not land. That process, at the point up to which we were getting the data, it has given us a wealth of information, huge information and knowledge. It has taken our knowledge, as far as I'm talking about our country, whatever we had knew so far about how to make something land on the moon, it has taken it to a new, much higher levels. What is happening is that with that data today, we are able to have very high level of confidence that yes, this time it is going to be successful. What they have done is the changes, if I want me to list out, is that, for example, the legs. The legs of the landing, this lander, was supposed to maximum velocity which they could absorb was 2 meters per second. Now this time it has been enhanced to 3 meters.
Well, we're facing some technical difficulties with Mr. Gupta's connection. We'll quickly fix that up. But essentially what he was trying to say that, we have learned from Chandrayaan-2, Justin, and that's the most important part. The legs of the lander, they've been modified, altered. They're now more protruding towards the outer side. There's a dampener on each of those legs to make sure that the bounce doesn't happen. Let's not forget, 1/6 of our gravity is what exists on the moon. But there are several failed moon missions as well. You've been constantly talking about how this is going to put India on that world map, only the 4th country to do so, a soft landing on the moon. After the heavyweights like China, US and the Soviet Union, India is going to be that next flag on the moon. I remember as soon as the liftoff happened, the entire newsroom broke off into a huge applause. But the constant tempo of SpaceX and all these new companies that are coming are making us forget one thing, which is that space is certainly difficult, and India is taking the right steps with budgeted financing and qualitative engineering.
Yes, that's right. I'll just give you an example of Japan. Japan landed on a comet, but they failed to do it on the moon. So that tells you that how difficult it's to land on moon. In fact, the year when Chandrayaan-2 lander couldn't make it, Israel also launched it. They again failed. So it's not easy to land on moon per se, but yes, the private ISRO has been making strides in ensuring, because Chandrayaan-3 also it's connected to a lot of commercial activities for India's space research per se, because India is open to business for medium to small satellites, all those exploration where we can provide rockets and all that kind of thing. So Chandrayaan-3's success is a crucial part to that part of business. While we talk about ISRO a lot, we should also throw some light on the private industry in India. There is almost 150 space private industries which are involved in spacefaring, like Skyroot. So they are developing their rockets, some are developing engines, thrusters, all kind of things are happening. Yes, when you compare the scale with, let's say, SpaceX, nowhere near that, sure. But what we have been able to achieve is that within that limited budget, within that limited space and availability, because understand, space technology is something that no one shares. You have to have that kind of develop it indigenously, only then you will be able to move forward. So that's been a challenge. So in that context, yes, India have taken a large strides, and the commercial aspect along which comes along with it is equally important, which will further, give it a lift off for the space industry as a whole.
Were you watching last time around when the Chandrayaan-2 mission, we were all stuck to our screens late in the night, and then during the afternoon the next day we finally learned that, that particular module hasn't been able to do a soft landing on the moon mission. What went through your mind back then? So landing, when it happens, usually if you're landing on Earth, you have satellites and everything to guide you and out there. So but landing on moon is that the onboard instruments are themselves, they got to decide as to how to happen, because the transmission time is too much. So we cannot sit here and directly point out. So these are all pre-programmed things on there. So which means that you have to be 100% sure. So yeah, at that point of time, there were expectations after we went to the moon in 2008, we went to on Mangalyaan mission was successful. We just thought maybe this one is also going to, go smoothly. But that's the game out here, space game. You just know when you are going to trip. But the truth and the bottom line is that we don't know if the doors are going to be opened or not, but India is standing right outside that elite club of, space nations where we're going to join. Oh, absolutely. US. Absolutely. See, there are more than 200 countries in the world, and we are just like, not the whole fingers on your hand are enough to count the number of countries on space on moon missions. So that tells you the difficulty, that tells you the challenges, that tells you how much India has grown in terms of technologically without any help from outside. Because understand, any cooperation between space agencies is only based on mutual advantage. If you cannot offer them something, nobody is going to give you anything on a plate. Yeah. Well, certainly, and India has taken. People are calling it a step. People are calling it a leap. Well, I'm going to put my neck out and say that this is nothing but a quantum leap that India has taken today. The visuals that you're seeing on your screens are from the Liftoff moments ago. S200 ignition. Later on, the L110 ignition. Later on, the S200 separation happens. The two bodies that you see towards the right and the left, they will come off. The L110 burning phase will initiate. The PLF will then separate itself. The L110, of course, scientific names and terminology are going to, separate themselves. And once the satellite separation happens, the C-25 will shut off, will continue with our Earth-centric orbiting, and finally propel towards the moon's orbit in the days to come. Everything is going according to plan. Whatever we were expecting during the launch has happened. Whatever we were expecting in terms of the global scenario and India's stature on the global stage, that has also happened to the T, with the rover Pragyan and the lander Vikram finally making touchdown in about 40 more days. All eyes are going to be glued, and the teams have the task cut out for themselves. The ISRO Bengaluru is going to constantly be tracking the Chandrayaan-3 mission as it is en route to the moon. Ravi Gupta, former scientist, DRDO, many thanks for joining with us and helping us out with your insightful inputs. Why the moon? Why the South Pole on the moon? What's interesting about the moon? What's so intriguing? Well, we'll find out in about 40 days, won't we? Take a look at the Liftoff shots again. That's all the time we have for you. Keep watching News9 Live.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Plus 5 seconds.
Liftoff normal.
Here we have a majestic liftoff of LVM-3 M4 rocket carrying India's prestigious Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft.
P2 tracking.
प्रज्वलन और सफलतापूर्ण उत्थापन LVM-3 M4 रॉकेट का
China won't let us rest easy on our borders, but they will keep flooding our markets. What does Xi Jinping really want?
I think he wants the Indian market, no doubt about it. It's really a matter of showing their dominance.
India's great Chinese conundrum.
Nobody can contain it. Not the United States, not China, not anybody else.
Frenemies. Streaming now.
कैंपेन शुरू करें।
मैं इमरान अहमद खान नियाजी सबके दिल से हल्फ उठाता हूँ।
When Imran Khan came initially into politics, he thought his personal popularity would be sufficient for him. It didn't happen.
The retired military generals are openly saying that Imran Khan is a better choice.
Imran Khan may have bitten a bit too much, more than what he can chew.
Implosion. This and more, streaming on world's first news OTT, News 9 Plus. Download now.
But you know what they say, right? Teamwork makes the dream work. This adage is as true for the corporate boardroom as it is on a football field. And in both contexts, the ability to collaborate towards a shared goal is critical. Now, in a corporate setting, teamwork involves cooperation to improve a company's organizational bottom line. Be it a high-stakes project or day-to-day tasks, working alongside your teammate is essential.
Helps you in a lot of ways when you are in the boardroom as well as when you're on the ground. One of the most important thing is teamwork. Okay, in whatever situations you are, good situations or difficult situations, especially difficult situations, you start getting along with each other so well because you want to achieve that target, that goal, which is the objective of the organization or of the team, to win or to come out good or to deliver what your customers want. And here, what in sports, whatever your fans want.
I not believe in a leadership, I believe in a passion. Whatever you did, follow your passion and your love should be with your work.
So what makes a successful team? It's the dedication and ability to chase a shared